really.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. Here we are. We're live. Sorry, I had to just make sure that was all right. This is Carrie Mitchell with Healing Invisible Illness, and I'm super excited today because today's a little different. I actually have my interview guest here with me, Tara Davis. Oh my god, I almost forgot your last name. See, this is what happens when we change things a little bit. Lives near me, and so she was able to come to my office for our interview today. Tara and I have been talking about relationships and illness. She's a relationship expert. And when we first started talking, I was like, what do you do when you get to Thanksgiving and there's somebody, an aunt or whoever, who looks at you and says, but you don't look sick? If you've been sick for a while, that is a frustrating and it's a maddening place to be in, and it's a horrible thing to hear. And so I asked Tara about that, and she lit up. She was like, oh my God, yes, this. So we are going to spend some time talking about that today and give you ideas and tools that will actually help you in that moment so that you don't have to go deer in the headlights and frustrated and like hit the bottle. So like that's the goal out of today. So thank you for being here, Tara. I'm so excited to have you. I really appreciate this. It's such an important topic right now.
Absolutely.
So, thank you. And tell us a little bit shortly about your work and relationship playbook for marriage.
I would love to. So, yes, thank you. Super fun to be here. So, my work in the world is so exciting. My husband and I have been married almost 25 years. We've been together 27, almost 28 years. And so, we have had so many ups and downs and, all the way in between. And it was really interesting when I started diving into my own self thinking, into my own marriage thinking, oh my God, you really need to change your stuff to my husband, right? I'm not the one that needs to change. No. Like, I'm good. It's you, baby. And so I started realizing that actually it wasn't him, it was me that had to do the internal work. And so I started this journey about 12 years ago of my own internal work. And I talk about the relationships so much because we are all in relationship with someone. Whether or not we're in a romantic relationship, we have parents, we have children, we have friends, we have bosses, we have relationships with other people. And so what I started noticing was it's our work that we get to do. As much as I still love to go, oh, that is so yours. It's really our work. Always. It will always come back to us. And so that's what I love teaching and coaching with couples is that couples we always think it's the other person, when in fact, maybe it is so us. We are up for whatever needs to be worked on, whatever needs to be healed, whatever needs to be challenged. So that is my work in the world, is working with couples, mainly professional, busy working couples who have been married for a while, but between family and work and everything else that life brings, they started falling by the wayside and their communication has started falling off, and they've started creating stories about each other in our mind, which I know you and I
never,
do not do.
Never.
And so that's where my gift is to work with these couples and bring them back together.
Awesome.
In a way of love and peace.
Wow, how amazing.
It's fun.
I love the idea that things can be fixed. They don't have to just dissolve and stay in that horrible place of like unspoken and building resentments.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you for putting that into the world and following that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Cool. All right. So let's look at Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, all of these events over the next couple of months where families get together, people who don't see each other very often. We're in the same space again and we want to catch up. And we say dumb things. We say things that can hurt. And so in that type of situation, what's going on? Like there are so many dynamics at play in that simple interaction. Talk a little bit, if you will, about the kinds of things that are under the surface and that are happening.
Yeah, this is so amazing because I tapped into this last night. Really just preparing a little bit and like really diving into the dynamics of what goes on during all of these different holiday events and celebrations. So first of all, we are literally, our shields are up, right? That's the first thing of like, okay, well, even though it's a really fun event that I'm going to go, meet with mom and dad and grandma and grandpa and aunts and uncles and sisters and whomever, or your friend Thanksgiving, but you are expected to be happy already. Maybe we're not. Maybe we're not even in that space of happiness, but geez Louise, I gotta get happy today. So that barrier is already there. So you're walking in the door already with that up. And that energy is there. Whether or not you project it physically or vocally, you've got that energy around you, and everyone else is kind of picking up on it. It might be a little bit wonky or, whatever it is. And okay, well, that's a little wonky. You're not the only one that's showing up that way.
Wow.
Other people are already. So we've already created this potential dynamic that could be there. Then we bring in drinks. Then we bring in, all these other things that come into play. Sugar,
too much food,
gluten,
carbs.
And then after dinner, everyone's like this. And so we bring in so much that just the Sunday prior, you could have been having dinner or drinks or whatever with the same group. The dynamic is totally shifted. So we've already brought all these different dynamics into play into this one event. So we've got 15 different things going on. We are also bringing in the dynamic of having an unseen illness.
Right.
Right? And so we have that coming in. So we have so much at play that comes in that isn't normally there on an everyday thing.
I appreciate that. I really appreciate that perspective, that it almost lets me breathe a little bit and lets me off the hook.
Oh, yeah, right?
For how strange things tend to feel, especially at first until we warm up.
Right.
There's that initial thing where when these awful questions happen, the how have you been and you don't look sick, that's in that initial phase when we're still so boundaried up and a little bit weird and trying to pretend to be happier. And so, of course, that question, that interaction is going to have even more heat to it and more awkwardness to it because we're not ourselves yet.
Right? I mean,
we're not at our best.
No, we're not. And the first question that comes in is, kiss, kiss, kiss. Oh my God, how are you?
Right.
And if you've got something that's really going on, you don't want to have to say, I'm great. I mean, you really want to say, shit, I feel terrible today. That's how I am today. And wouldn't it be amazing that we could all just show up?
Wow.
The world's good, but today I feel terrible. How are you?
Right.
I mean, that would be so authentic.
Right. I'm terrible. I own it. You don't have to do anything about it.
Right. I'm just here
saying,
today I do not feel good, but I'm here, and how are you?
Okay, I want to know from anybody watching, have you ever done that? What is it like to show up that way? I feel terrible, but it's not your fault. You don't have to carry it. You don't have to even be impacted by it. It's mine. It's me.
And you don't even have to go, oh,
right.
I don't even want you to do that.
I definitely don't want you to do that.
Yeah.
It's the last
I just want to be able to be honest with you.
Right.
And tell you how I'm feeling today.
Okay.
So that's the first step.
I love that. That's the first step.
And here's what that does for us, for the person that has this illness or whatever is going on that we don't feel good and that we want to be honest. What happens in that moment of claiming us is that zoom, the barrier has gone down because I no longer have to pretend for you, whomever it is that wants to know how I'm doing and expecting that answer to be good, great, fabulous.
Right.
I get to just be me.
Wow.
Whew. Did you? I heard you.
Absolutely.
I get to be me right now and tell you, I don't feel good today, but here I am.
Right.
Let's just go with it.
Right.
So it takes that barrier down in that moment, which then actually starts to decompress everyone else's expectations of, I know Julie always kind of feels weird. And it kind of always makes the situation weird. So everyone else's thoughts already are going there, but she says she's always good. How do we react to this person? And so by Sam, Julie, whoever, saying, I don't feel good today, but I'm here, we've all gone, oh, okay.
Wow. Because we teach others how to treat us. And even in that tiniest interaction, if I'm awkward and closed off and I put out an energy of I'm feeling terrible and I want you to feel bad about it, or I'm feeling terrible and I'm angry about it and I don't want to talk about it in raw, they pick that up, and then that's how the interaction goes the whole time, because we have taught them, we don't want to talk about it. We're awkward. We're uncomfortable. Don't talk to me about this. Okay.
Yeah.
Huge.
Huge.
Awesome. Okay.
So the next piece would then be to address, and it would be up to you, to the person who is feeling this or who has this unseen illness, so who's not feeling their best today. I really invite you to address it and say, I know this is really awkward, or this can feel really wonky. This can feel so uncomfortable. It feels awkward to me too. I'm just trying this out. Like, this is so new for me, but I don't want to pretend anymore or mislead you.
Ooh.
And so by just claiming and seeing what's going on right now, like, I don't even know what's going to happen in 2 minutes with what I have just said, but I'm owning it and I'm staying true to me by acknowledging and bringing you also into the conversation. Like, you don't have to pretend. So please don't pretend. Like, I just feel weird, so let's talk about it. If you want to ask me some questions, I'm open. I don't know what my answers will be, but I'm really open. Because I know you probably wonder, like, what's going on with me all the time? Or, you know, I come to these events, or we all come to these events, and maybe you've had questions, but it feels really awkward. Let's just open it up.
Wow.
So by addressing that awkwardness, it also removes another barrier.
Right. Right. And that phrase of, I don't even want to pretend anymore, has so much power to it. Oh my God. Wow. Okay. That's awesome. I have a question about that, but we can move on if you want.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What if you do want to pretend? How do you get yourself?
Right.
I was there for 10 years. I didn't want to talk about it because I didn't have any answers. And it's not okay to not have answers. As you were talking, I was thinking, I've known people to be that way in gatherings when they have this major diagnosis. They've got some kind of cancer, or they have an illness that's got them worn down to the nub, but they have a diagnosis that people kind of think they understand. And so people can talk about that because it's a little bit understood. But when we're in this invisible illness place where nobody knows what any of this is, how do we get ourselves to be okay enough to say, you know what, dude, this is what's going on. This is it. I don't have any more answers. It all sucks.
Right.
Any ideas for that?
Well, and I think that's great because I can slightly relate. I've had food allergies for 10 years, at least 15 years. And so, you know, there's been all these different people will ask me questions as well. And sometimes I'm just like, oh my God, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. Like, stop.
Right.
So from that perspective, I would invite you to, first of all, be completely okay with not wanting to talk about it. Like, really let yourself off the hook.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't want to talk about it, that's just as perfect as wanting to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because we're not always in the same place at the same time every single day. So when it comes that time where you're like, okay, yep, I'm going. I don't feel good today. And I know I don't want to talk about it today. So check in with yourself first before you even walk in the door. Where are you with it today? And when you don't want to talk about it today, breathe for a second before you even get out of the car, right? That is the biggest thing of like, okay, don't want to go there today. So what I invite you to do is when you get in there and they ask you, how are you today? If you don't even want to say it and you want to lie, I'm all right today.
Right?
Yeah, I'm good today. Again, let yourself off the hook. That is so important because it's not faking. You've already decided, I don't even want to go there. So you're not even pretending that you're not feeling good. You've acknowledged, I don't even have it in me today to go there with the explanations. So just allow some softness within. Allow that piece of you to soften within that always feels defensive. Or that always feels like you have to explain to the nth degree to everyone else. And maybe even just like you have just said, I don't have any answers. And today, I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I love you. I don't want to talk about it today. Like, it's just not up for my discussion.
Right.
I mean, as well, when we come from a place of bitterness or of anger, it also invites other people to, first of all, they've become defensive. They're super curious now because you just like lit the fire of like, oh God, what is really going on?
Okay.
You know, like all these other dynamics come in when we have bitterness and anger. And once again, I invite you to let yourself off the hook, because if you still have bitterness and anger, that's where you are.
Mm-hmm.
But just know that all these other dynamics are going to come in as well when this comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, by acknowledging where you are,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not feeling good today, and I'm letting you know, let's just not even go there today. I don't want to talk about it.
Right. Right. I love that. So preparing yourself before you walk in the door.
Right, because the questions are going to be asked.
Right. Right.
How are you?
Right. Ah, haven't seen you.
And it's not going to be, oh, how are you?
No.
I mean, it might, but really,
Yeah.
we already have been in that mode of, how are you?
Right.
Because really, our guest is truly happy to see us. I mean, let's just remember that. Like, our guest has invited us. They are happy to see us. It's up to us to acknowledge where we are and to take responsibility for where we are. So if we're not good today, just be that.
Mm-hmm.
It's an okay day for me. I know that I kind of struggle with whatever, or I have this up for me. It's okay, and I'm here.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that brings us back to what you were saying at the very beginning of, I feel terrible. How are you?
Mm-hmm.
And just letting that just land there, and they don't have to pick it up. I think that can be extremely powerful in most situations, because people love to talk about themselves. Anybody who's not sick loves to talk about how they are.
Oh, yeah. No, not me.
Right.
Right. Every one of us can relate.
Right. Okay.
And also, when you were talking, when we come in the door and someone says, how are you? I'm not good today, right? Just let it land. I'm not good today.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, so I notice myself wanting to pick it up for someone else just as much as everyone else does.
Totally.
Like, oh God, I'm so sorry. Like, let me hug you. Like, but here's what I am practicing. And this is awesome that you brought this up, because I notice myself practicing a breath.
Mm-hmm.
Like that silence just right there.
Right.
Almost diffuses, and it lets us both, okay, so you're not feeling good. Can I help you? Can I help you in any way? No. I just don't feel good today, and I actually don't even want to talk about it, so can I help you with dinner? Can I do, whatever? Mm-hmm. It's just, because I think we're so conditioned to not have any silence.
Oh, yeah.
Let me feel that silence for you.
Mm-hmm. Especially in like a Thanksgiving type situation. Mm-hmm. You haven't been around people for a while. Yeah, totally.
Right. So I invite both parties to sit with that really funky awkwardness, right? Of like, even just you and I sitting here, it's like dead silence.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So just let it drop.
Right.
And see how you feel. Just notice how you feel.
Mm.
And I just invite you to be okay with that.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that was a few steps. Did you have further steps to go through in this idea?
So if this is new for you, if this is a new experience of claiming I don't feel good today, or if it's a new experience of you showing up to an event like this with family, with something with an illness that's an unseen illness, or something else that everyone is curious about or wants to talk about, I also want to just put out that we all have judgment. Yeah, that piece of judgment comes in. And so because it's something that we don't know about, so your illness is something that I don't know about, my ego already wants to jump in and go Monday through Friday of all the different ways of how I'm judging you. And why your illness is probably wrong, or what you're doing wrong, or la 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 la. And so just be aware and go, oh God, there that is. And figure out how to stop that train with whatever piece that is. Literally, whether it's you just moving yourself in the chair, whether it's taking a drink of water, whether it's engaging a conversation with that person or with something else. Yeah, I just invite you to recognize that, that train that our mind just wants to go crazy with, and allow it to stop.
Right.
The first piece of acknowledging that judgment is to acknowledge it in the first place, right? Because it's something different. It's something unknown. So we want to start creating a story about it of how wrong this other person is and what they're not doing and what they are doing. And we all latch on to this in so many ways, because then it keeps us safe.
Right.
Keeps us in the safe zone, and we don't have to go anywhere uncomfortable. So I invite both parties, the party that has an unseen illness and the party that doesn't, to just start being aware of where our mind wants to go with that judgment, because it actually can become quite comical.
Right. I can see that.
I mean, it really does.
Mhm.
If you just start watching where the mind wants to go with this ginormous story,
Right.
yeah, it can actually be quite comical because we can come up with crazy stories.
Right. Right.
Can't we?
I just heard a bunch in my head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you must have done, and it must have been that time you went to Uruguay and you didn't do a parasite thing, and just, you weren't right. Like, we can come up with all these crazy things that have nothing to do with the situation, but my ego, my mind needs certainty in order to feel safe. And so, of course, I'm going to go into all kinds of craziness when I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yes. And I think the last thing that I want to say about this is that we all want to help. I mean, we're all here on the planet to help. And so the person that have some sort of an unseen illness, also be gentle with the rest of the entire family who wants to give us 10 suggestions apiece. Right? I mean, don't we all want to do that? Well, have you tried?
Right.
Or have you seen this doctor? You know, I Googled it on this. WebMD has some, I mean, really.
Right.
I mean, we can all go down that rabbit hole of, I want to help you. And it comes from a place of love. I mean, let's just acknowledge that. It comes from a place of, I really do want to help you. Or I'm feeling sorry. Or I'm feeling uncomfortable. Or whatever these feelings are, most of us want to help. And I think it's normal that we all want to, well, so-and-so had this. Have you tried? Right. So being gentle with yourself, because you really just want to go, I'm going to jab you in the jugular right now.
I know. I went into that myself. I was like, I'm remembering so many times where, I'm
going to take my pen right now and go, ka-cha!
I had to sit on my hands more times than I can count.
Yeah. So acknowledging that and maybe chuckling at that.
Right.
I mean, seeing how you can bring up your level of energy and have some fun with it.
Right. Right. I ended up at one point saying, I'm going to stab you in the eye if you don't stop.
Right.
I mean, like, really. Like, we can't go down this road any longer. And that maybe wasn't the nice thing to hear at Thanksgiving.
Right.
But
that's what it is.
We have to draw our line somewhere, especially with these people who want to help. They're speaking out of love and fear and their own discomfort. And so a huge way to defuse so much of that is that very beginning to say, I feel terrible today. How are you doing? Yeah. Because then they don't have to, you don't have an open doorway to the suggestions. You don't have an open doorway for them to take care of you. You're owning it. You're like, this is my reality. Moving on.
Right. And even saying and owning the piece of, I don't want to talk about it today. And it doesn't have to be spiteful or mean. It's just, thanks for asking. And I am so exhausted today. I didn't want to talk about it. Or not even feeling like you have to offer that piece of excuse of, thanks, I didn't even want to talk about it today, but hey, let's talk about you. What's up with your life?
Right.
And then just leaving it there, because then it lets them off the hook as well of trying to help you or feeling like they need to offer something to you or feeling sorry for you, which we don't want. So just, putting that out there as well and owning it.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's extremely powerful. And I would love to hear from anyone who's watching and who's going to Thanksgiving how this works. Like, what is it like the next time you meet somebody and they ask how you're doing, and you just say, I actually feel terrible right now. How you doing? And like, no open doorway to any extraneous conversation around your health, which nobody needs to know anything about.
Right. And if it's someone that we haven't seen for a while and we respond this way, I mean, I think the normal reaction from the other person is like, oh, I didn't even know you were sick.
Right.
So I would feel like the response to that would be, I've been really sick. I don't even want to talk about it though. It's exhausting for me.
Right.
Let's totally talk about you. Yeah. It's, again, owning that piece and not, because it can become uncomfortable, but it's not making that other person feel uncomfortable. It's just really owning your stuff.
Right.
And where you are.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I do want to take one more step into this and talk about why even bother. Like, why even bother going to Thanksgiving when you know this is going to happen? You're going to get worn out like halfway through dinner. You're, the noise of everybody is going to just like start giving you a migraine. You know this is going to happen. why bother with any of it?
Right? And
So my relationship expert, I'm asking her, why do they matter?
right, and this is awesome because as my husband and I were kind of talking about this conversation last night, that's literally where it went to at the end. We both were like, God, when is Thanksgiving? It's like next week. Why? I think we might have something else going on that day. And so it was so funny that we even got to this point and started chuckling about it. And so I love that you asked this question because relationships are the greatest tool of our lives. I mean, we all want to have a relationship. Even if we say, I don't want a relationship, I don't have a relationship with anyone. Like, I'm a loner? Not even. You have relationships with someone. And relationships are the biggest tool of teaching. They are the biggest way to give and receive love. I mean, we are not hermits living in a hole. We need to give love. We need to receive love. And so just by showing up, we put ourselves in the situation to learn to give, to learn to receive this love. I wrote so many notes. Isolation. Right. So when we allow ourselves to be in isolation, it's just like what you and I had talked about. We create those stories. Isolation means we're not literally having a one-on-one conversation. We're not sitting in the energy together. And so that's when our mind starts going down the rabbit hole with all these different stories that we can create about other people, which is why I don't even need to go to Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, that's where the isolation comes from. Okay. Right. We, of course, make ourselves better in our mind when we don't have to face someone else. I mean, let's face it, we're all best. I mean, we are all the best person. So I don't even know why I need to show up to Thanksgiving. I know I love them. They love me. And God, I'm the best one there. I mean, for real. And then we start off with that story. And so really, let's get in with somebody. Let's get in front of, if it's just one person that we are sharing Thanksgiving with. I mean, sometimes we want a really big gathering. Sometimes we just want to share it with one person. Whatever it looks like, I really invite you to get out in front of the TV, the laptop, whatever, and have these relationships and have these conversations. Because like it or not, it's the best. I mean, we all want to be in a relationship, no matter how much we say we don't.
Right.
It is the basics of being a human, giving and receiving love. Because maybe as we grew up as a child, we did not learn how to receive because it was such a tumultuous time in our life. Maybe the person that we were trying to give love to didn't know how to receive it. And so we learn these relationships as adults until the day we die. Unfortunately, we're going to be constantly learning.
Right.
And so this is the best way to learn. That's what we're all here to learn on this planet. Ultimately, how to give and receive love. And so this is why we keep showing up again and again and again.
Yes.
It just really gives us the opportunity to have compassion for ourselves and everyone else. It's that learning piece again of learning to be compassionate for other people and learning to be compassionate for ourselves. Because when we're sitting on the phone or behind the laptop, compassion,
not so much.
Not so much.
Yeah, don't have to do that.
No.
Not really.
Now that I'm sitting here with you and you're not feeling good today,
right?
I learned how to be compassionate with you.
Right.
Even though you've said, I don't even want to talk about it today.
Right.
Okay, so where is that compassion within me? It's very subtle.
Right.
It's all these little subtle nuances that we learn in relationship, one-on-one, face-to-face.
Right.
With everybody else. And we might walk out the door and go, good God, I bombed that today. That is not how I'm going to show up next time. So it is a learning process no matter how we show up, good or bad. It's that learning process of like, God, can we just do this over, please? Because that's not even how I want to show up today. Right. Or, yeah, that is exactly how I wanted to show up today. And yay me. Like, God, high five to me. I showed up really good today. Tomorrow might be the same or tomorrow might not be so good. So it's that continual learning process that relationships give us.
Yeah. And so what I really am hearing is giving yourself a break and owning where you are. Like always. Being okay with, I don't like where I am right now. I've been sick for years. I'm tired of telling my story. I'm so sick of the same damn thing, the same conversations and questions, but this is where I am right now. I don't like it. I don't have any more answers than I did last year. And I'm going to walk in there and try to find something to enjoy.
Yeah.
Try to find a way to connect with someone where there's love given and received, and God knows what else happens. Yeah. And that's a trick. That's effort that we have to put in when we're sick. And I guess, and I know that what I'm hearing from you is it's worth it, because when that love happens, when that exchange of compassion and just human feeling and empathy happens,
oh my God, right?
Yes. Yeah, because when we're sick for so long with something like this that isolates us, we get starved for that human connection. We're isolated most of the time behind WebMD and trying to figure out what the hell's wrong with us.
Right.
Like, we're going to our practitioners, and then that's kind of the only human interaction some people get when they're super sick. So taking these opportunities where people are gathered, and we do have a foundation of love with Aunt Susan, even if she asks horrible questions.
We want to jab her in the eye. Right? And so I love that you brought that little piece again of isolation, of, being behind the laptop and being with your doctor, and this is your whole life. I invite you to challenge yourself, no matter how small it is, to figure out what part for you works today. Like, what part worked today really well. Doesn't even matter how big or small it is. And then after you've walked out the door from Thanksgiving dinner, whatever dinner it is that you've gone to, and maybe the whole thing was a disaster, I really invite you to look at one piece. Like, what one piece worked for you, so that you don't walk away thinking, God, I'm never doing that again. I mean, maybe that is the full-on truth. Right. I mean, maybe that's never going to happen again. But I invite you to find out or figure out, what did I learn? Like, what piece in there for me did I learn? Where was I my best? What am I grateful for? Like, look at those little pieces, because it will actually really shift, and it starts to shift your brain. Like, there's been so many scientific studies that show the neurotransmitters start to shift when you start recognizing what's good. Because I know when we have these diseases and illnesses that other people don't see, first of all, we're so in our brain. Everything sucks. Right. The world is horrible. It's hard to see what looks good and what works every day.
It is. It's very difficult.
And so when we take the time, and again, it's a challenge, because if your whole day has been terrible, how do you expect to find one little piece that was good? Maybe it was that your cat came up and sat on your lap today, and that was amazing. Like, that felt so good. Maybe it was, my phone did not ring today. And that is the best thing that you can find. Then yes, no one called me today.
Yeah. Right. And there are so many studies talking about how focusing on something positive and something light actually changes the chemistry in your body, in your bloodstream. It changes the chemicals that are going through your body, and that's how we heal. We heal when our bodies are in a better state, less stress, more love, more endorphins. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. All right. So I was kind of hoping that she could tell us that we could actually drop kick on Susan, but she didn't.
I mean, wouldn't that be awesome?
It's just the reality of being sick. We get so frustrated and so tired with all of this. And the awesome thing about what Tara's saying is that the potential to change that is right here. The potential to change the entire Thanksgiving weekend, the entire dynamic, is me being, I feel terrible today. How are you doing? Like, really owning it, leaving it here, and not bleeding it out into them, not giving them a doorway to fix you or hold your illness or feel bad about it or awkward. Just, this is the reality. How are you doing? And be curious and move on with them. And so as much as we don't get to, like, lash out, we do get to change it radically. We have the opportunity to change it really quite simply. I love this. I'm so appreciative of that boundaried idea and the shields that you talked about when we first walked in, because I'd never considered it, and it's absolutely true in my experience. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Do you have any parting thoughts? Anything that you would really love for people to pick up as their takeaway?
You know what? I think it is the most that for myself and for everyone else, I have been on this kick for the last 2 months of how honest I can be with myself, because I find the more honest I am, and it could be something so subtle as, yeah, I'm going to go with you guys today, and then 10 minutes later, it's in my gut, and I'm like, oh God, did I just sign up for that? What was I thinking? And then literally texting someone back going, I've changed my mind. I'm not going.
Totally not that.
Just getting to that place of being honest with me. It sounds so childlike, but I keep getting giddier and giddier every day the more I show up for myself and the more I don't leave me.
Wow.
So the more honest we can get within and be honest externally, oh man, the more it shifts your world. So I just invite you to start exploring that piece. How honest can you be with yourself?
Awesome. Ooh, I love that.
It's actually really deep work. It sounds super subtle.
Right.
But it's really deep.
But I can feel it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Wow, what a treat. Yay.
Yay.
Thank you. Really, I want to hear how you were doing. What was this like for you? Did any of this ring your bell? Because it totally did mine. All right. Thank you so much. Tara Davis, your website, please.
Yes, therelationship.playbookformarriage.com.
All right. Thank you. And we will see you next week. And I forget who I'm interviewing, but we will see you next Friday. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. And